Hey guys, welcome to the Big Shoulders Podcast. We are a podcast dedicated to most things Chicago-oriented, but other stuff too. To my side here is my man Joe. He is, on top of being just handsome and an Italian-American mutt, he is also from the great Chicagoland area. And today, we're going to be talking about probably the most important thing to any Chicagoan, which is food. We're going to start with food. And in recent years, it feels like Chicago street food in particular is getting a lot more respect. Like, people know about it. Like, people know about the Chicago-style hot dog. People know about deep dish pizza. But literally, there's places now in Los Angeles, of all places, that have Chicago street food. There's a place called Juicy J's that I've been to. Yeah. Chicago-style hot dogs, Chicago-style Italian beef, pizza puffs, which you can't find you can't find outside of Chicago.
Nobody knows what a pizza puff is.
And nobody knows what a pizza puff is. It's one of those things. I've been jumping back and forth, we both have, between LA and Chicago. We're Chicago guys that are actors out here in LA. And we realized, I think I was here 7 years, and I mentioned pizza puff to some of my Cali family, and they're like, what's that? And I'm like, pizza puff, like after school, you go to a corner store and they fry you up a pizza puff and you eat it, and like, no. They had no, and I realized pizza puff is not a thing outside of Chicago, so we might as well start there. Pizza puffs are basically, if you took a Hot Pocket full of basically pepperoni pizza, right? But better than a Hot Pocket.
It's about 1,000 degrees.
1,000 degrees. We bite it immediately, and then it sears off the top of your roof of your mouth. But it's basically pepperoni pizza, sometimes sausage pizza, in a pocket. Right. But it's not just any pocket. This isn't some what is it, Hot Pocket bullshit. No. It's almost like a lighter, flakier, not quite phyllo dough.
Like a puff pastry almost.
Like a puff pastry, hence pizza puff. Right. And they're delicious. They're about this big, about like that. Yeah. And you pair that health food with some fries that have been fried in grease that hasn't been changed since Clinton was president, and you got yourself a real Chicago meal. Yeah. So, pizza puff. I
used to work at a restaurant to be clear, I'm from the western side of Chicago. So I grew up in a town called Westchester. Okay. And then I went to high school in a town called Elmhurst. So western suburbs.
But still Chicagoland.
Chicagoland.
Like, even if you're not from the city of Chicago, there's something called Chicagoland, which encompasses the city and then sort of like all the satellite suburbs around it. I myself was born in Joliet. Yeah. And, I consider myself an honorary Chicagoan, even by birth, because Joliet Jake Elwood is, he's one half of the Blues Brothers. Yeah. So there we go. Those are my creds right there.
But I was downtown all the time. Again, Kyle and I are actors here, and I had an agent downtown, Shirley Hamilton. I'm sure you know Shirley, I know Shirley. Right? So I was downtown every week, every other day doing auditions. But I used to work at a restaurant on the west side in Hillside. It's called Chickies. I don't know if you've ever...
I've heard of Chickies, never been, but I know it.
And it's owned by the Falcos, great family friends, and, people would come in and order beef, sweet hot, mozzarella dipped, just that's the thing with the side of au jus, and then order a pizza puff on the side, and you'd have to, tumble the pizza puff to get it because it was so hot. Right. But those are like the little gems, I think, within Chicago. When we talked about Uncle Remus, the
Uncle Remus is the, there's two kind of notorious fried chicken spots. There's lots of fried chicken spots, but the two sort of big ones are Uncle Remus, which is like west and south, and then you have Harold's Chicken, which crazily enough has a Hollywood location now, which is wild. And they sort of have been north, west, and south. Those are the three sides of Chicago that they're sort of all over the place. Right. And they're really solid. People have their favorites. Yeah. But I kind of like both, and I like them for different reasons.
Right. And another thing that people don't know about here is mild sauce, right? It's weird we say these things like I know my order already, you know? So my always thing was a 4-piece wings with fries, mild sauce on the fries, you know? Mild sauce is like how do I describe it?
Mild sauce is kind of like Frank's Red Hot, but a little sweeter. Right. Still vinegar, sweet, but a little more on the sweet side.
And why I like Uncle Remus more is because the mild sauce is sweeter than that of Harold's. Right. Pick your poison, whatever. I know. I
won't turn down either.
No, yeah.
But no, I do see, it's sort of, this leads me into the other one. So we're going from Uncle Remus and Harold's fried chicken to, you have Giordano's and you have Lou Malnati's deep dish.
Notorious.
Deep dish pizza, which... deep dish isn't the only pizza we eat, but we'll table that for a minute. Okay. If we're going at deep dish, there's a clear difference between Giordano's and Lou Malnati's, and that's in terms of the sauce. Lou Malnati's, to me, always tasted saltier and a little more savory, whereas Giordano's is a bit more, it's a little sweeter. I won't say, not like sweet, what we think of sweet, but in terms of like marinara, in terms of sauce, gravy if you're on the East Coast, but just maybe a little bit more sweetness in that sauce. I prefer Giordano's. I won't turn down Lou Malnati's. Obviously, I grew up with both. But if I'm going out for deep dish in particular, I really like Giordano's because the sauce for me always hits. There's more locations of Giordano's than Lou's. I mean, there's more Lou's now than there were in the past. But for me, it's Giordano's, and I do. While I'm not a sweet guy in terms of taste palette, I'm a real fucking sweetheart, as you can tell. I do prefer Giordano's just a little bit more because of the sweetness of the sauce, because I think it's a nice contrast to, for like if you get like Italian sausage on your pizza, with Chicago sausage goes into the pizzas raw. It is always homemade. It has fennel. It's got all that stuff in it. And so you've got that savory kind of zesty of the sausage. I feel that the sweeter Giordano's pizza sauce, is a nice complement to that. Not to say that I'm going to turn down Lou's, because I love Lou's, but just my personal preference.
I'm a Lou's guy myself.
I'm a
Lou's guy myself.
Okay. Imagine this, a Cubs fan and a Sox fan disagreeing.
Who would have known?
What a shock.
But let me ask, so if you lived in the city of Chicago, how many times a year, on average, do you think you're eating deep dish?
Well, this is something that is always a huge surprise to everyone.
Non-Chicagoans, right?
If you're not from the city, you're not from the Chicagoland area, as you were, it's really coming out today. Holy shit, Chicago. It's really coming out. So you get two of us in a room, and it just flows. I would only have deep dish for special occasions. Like once in a while, you get that feeling. I got to get deep dish because most of the time, and this is a great lead-in. This kid's great. Is 98 to 99% of the time, Chicago folks, we are eating something called tavern-style pizza.
To my point, everyone out here that asks the first time, so, where are you from? I'm from Chicago. If you don't make fun of my accent first, you then pivot to, deep dish pizza.
Dish pizza, deep dish.
And I always say, I'll let you in on a little secret about Chicagoans. We don't really eat deep dish pizza at all. No. Like Kyle said, we eat the tavern style, square cut.
Tavern style is thin crust pizza that has cornmeal in the crust. So whether you're getting a piece on the outside or a piece directly in the middle of the pie, it's equally crisp. You can pick it up. It doesn't fall. It doesn't flap. You're like New York. I love a New York slice. When I lived in New York, I love grabbing a New York. You kind of have to grab it and sort of fold it into your mouth. Tavern style, you're picking up by squares, because even though it's a circle pizza, we don't cut it into pie slices. We cut it into squares because it started in taverns and bars, something that you can grab while you're drinking. It's made with cornmeal, so if every piece is solid, you can easily eat it that way. And it's what we eat most of the time. You eat deep dish, like I'll just from my own life. First communion, confirmation. By the way, we're both raised Catholic, so there's going to be a lot of Catholicism related
references,
there's graduation's obviously a big one. Any type of big sort of, I've seen people bring deep dishes to their weddings. Like if you're real Catholic Chicago trash, trash.
Right,
You're
trash.
gonna have even tavern style and deep dish at your weddings, at your baptisms, anything, any big sacrament. You're gonna do that stuff.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah, but most of the time we're not doing that. Like last trip back to Chicago, that I take my Cali family back, and they're as much in love with the city as those of us that are from there. Right. We went to La Briola. La Briola is downtown, and La Briola has recently just been kicking all kinds of ass in terms of winning accolades and awards in the city. They're right downtown. They've been kicking ass not just on deep dish, but on their tavern style. Right. And I had some of the best tavern style I've ever had last trip. We was there just this past November. Mm-hmm. And I like Pat's, I like Vito and Nick's. Yeah. There's so many great spots. That's the other thing too. In Chicago, people might ask, what is the best pizza spot? Right. Well, they're all good. Right. They're all great.
In their own way.
In their own way. And one place might do their tavern style. The cheese might be more crisp than another spot. Right. You can kind of tell which neighborhood people run in or grew up in or moved to based on where, they'll suggest. Right. Or, again, the same as, are you a Malnati's guy or are you a Giordano's guy? Right. But it's hard to miss. One of the things, because food and drink is our true religion in Chicago, it's really hard to make bad food. Yeah. You're not going to last. If word gets around that your fried chicken, your pizza, your gyros, your whatever is just not, it ain't there, brother,
you're not going to last.
Say a rosary, because that's it.
Call me crazy, but I think this is a reference that you only may get and people should know about. So, how the Chicago pizza is cut. When I was not full, but I was on the brink of it, I would eat the little triangle at the end.
I love the crispy edges.
Right, the crispy edges, because so it's like, it'll fill me up. Now, I haven't seen it since I've moved out here, but do you remember the little table in the middle of Chicago pizzas?
Yes.
Do you know what that's for, actually?
I used to know. I forgot.
It's for when you pull the cheese.
Yes.
It's like that. But I always used to use it as a little table.
Hang on a second. Because of what? It's used to,
like, when you're pulling the pizza from...
Right.
You're supposed to put it on the other piece so it doesn't... I didn't know that till I was 18, 19.
Yeah.
So, but I always used to use it as a little table, But
see, he's at a little table and his pizza, daintily eating his.
But is that a Chicago thing? Because I haven't seen it out here.
Well, this is.
I have not seen it out here.
I'm going to be fair. I don't. There's one place for tavern style pizza out here, and it's a Chicago chain called Gino's East.
That's it.
That I don't eat at, and I'm nothing against the people. I don't ever like to, nothing against the Gino's East people, but growing up, I had not so great experiences at Gino's East, and I just never, it was also not a place that my family or my friends ever ate at, but they do deep dish and they do tavern style. I'm kind of, the time that I'm out here, sometimes I think, maybe I should go to Gino's East in Sherman Oaks out here in the Valley of LA. Just to what I want to taste, but I'll go out once in a while. Like if I'm in LA for my birthday, I'll go to a place in Echo Park of LA called Masa, M-A-S-A, Masa of Echo Park, run by two Chicagoans that do deep dish, chicken parms, like they do all the Italian American favorites, and it tastes exactly like you're back home in Chicago. It is sweet home Chicago.
I will say, so Tom Dreesen, my uncle,
who is if you don't know who this guy is, Tom Dreesen is an absolute fucking legend of comedy. He toured with the late, great patron saint of America, Frank Sinatra. Yeah. And
which was his birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday, Frank.
Yeah.
Also, Tom hosted the Tonight Show. Yeah. This kid runs with this guy. So Tom Dreesen,
I'll say
living legend.
500 national appearances on national television, over 61 appearances on the Tonight Show. In David Letterman's absence, he also hosted it.
A great follow on Instagram. The guy puts up his sets. The guy's just a pro.
Where was I going? Yeah, we get Gino's East, and we usually only get the beef sandwiches from there.
Okay.
Because it's Vienna beef, it's the bread, it's, the sweet peppers is dipped. It's like that little taste of home,
Right.
I enjoy it. So shout out to Gino's East out here.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago, Gino's East, to its credit, is holding it down in LA, as is the new Juicy J's, which we'll figure out a way to tag. I went there with my nephews a week ago.
Yeah.
I got 2 Chicago-style hot dogs, and it tasted exactly like the Hat in Chicago when I was back in November.
Yeah.
It tasted absolutely perfect. They nailed it. Yeah. Everything was perfect.
Yeah.
Italian beef. You brought up Italian beef.
Right.
This is a staple, a mainstay, an indigenous food, if you will, to Chicago, like Chicago-style hot dog and our pizza.
Yeah.
Italian beef isn't from Italy. It's called Italian beef because it was made by an Italian in Chicago. Basically, thin sliced roast beef. It started because it actually popped up during the Depression, when you had very little food and you had to stretch your food dollar. You had to make it, because back in those days, especially us Catholics, we're pumping out 6, 7, 8, 9 kids, and then the Depression hits. It's like, shit. Yeah. Okay, so they sliced it real thin. Yeah. They sliced it real thin. They let it sort of stew in the jus, and then they just put it on bread. And that's basically what we've been doing ever since. A Chicago-style Italian beef is thin sliced roast beef, roasted hours and hours and hours to absolute perfection. It's then put on a Milano. I think it's a Milano roll, which it looks like it's going to be too much bread, but it's super light. It absorbs all of the juice from the roast beef, and then you take what we call giardiniera, which is pickled, sort of zesty vegetables. You throw that in, and peppers in with some sweet peppers, and then you have your choice. You can half dip, partially dip, so half dip or baptize. Again, Catholicism, man, it's baked in. Where you take the whole fucking sandwich and just put it in, and it absorbs everything. Right. It's a mess to eat, but is delicious.
Amazing.
My Filipino-American niece from San Francisco literally took off her Chanel sweater. She's a bougie bitch, and I love her. She took off her Chanel sweater, rolled up her sleeves on her blouse, and just took the whole thing and loved it. Loved it.
Getting back to Chicago, do you have a favorite spot for Italian beef?
For Italian beef, for a long time, it was any Al's.
Okay.
But
Al's is great.
Al's is really good.
Al's is great.
But I'm trying to.
I'm going to move into it. I'm a big Portillo's fan for Italian beef.
Well, this is a point of contention, and I don't really understand it. As we'll sort of explore the food politics of our town on this pod, Portillo's. I don't care what you say. It is a Chicago institution. It may not have been founded within the city limits of Chicago. Yeah. It is absolutely Chicago. Right. It absolutely is. Right. In fact, they're now franchised. You've got them all over the country, and they're as solid today as they were when I grew up. I love Portillo's. Yeah. Portillo's is solid. I like Al's.
Bona beef.
Bona beef.
Yeah.
Bona beef
is
South
spot on.
Side pride there.
Yeah.
I introduced a lot of my Cali family to Bona beef on McClurg in downtown. That was their first experience to Bona beef is fantastic. Again, that's the thing is some of these places might be a little bit different. I know some people don't necessarily. It's like, okay, this place doesn't dip it as much as I like. This place, the bread is a little too soft for me, or this place they make their own giardiniera, and it's a little too salty for me. So I think it's all good. Right. I think with Italian beef in particular, whether you're at Buona, Al's, Portillo's, my recommendation is to get it dipped. You don't have to baptize it. You don't have to be a total animal like us, but get it dipped, hot and sweet peppers, and just don't be afraid to get messy.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's...
Right. For any of you going to Chicago soon, I know when you go to a Chicago counter, there's maybe a large black woman or Italian that is...
The best. These women are saints walking.
And if they're, depending on what time it is, if you catch her mid-shift, she may be in a good mood. If you catch her in the late shift, she may tell you to fuck off.
The point is, be polite no matter what.
Right. But if I had any advice, your order, and depending if you like cheese or not, you go beef, sweet hot, mozzarella cheese.
Ooh, okay.
That's my order.
All right, that's true. I forgot about the cheese.
Right.
I'm not a cheese guy, but I've had cheese. Solid.
Yeah.
Change it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, too, is nothing beats a lady at a Chicago counter.
Oh.
She can be an old school Polish lady.
Yeah.
She could be an old school black lady.
Yeah.
She could be a lady from Humboldt Park,
Yeah.
my favorite Puerto Rican place on earth.
Right.
Respect these ladies.
Right.
Because they will take good care of you. This is the thing,
Right.
It might be the beginning of her shift, it might be the middle, it
Right.
might be the end.
Right.
But if you just be a good boy, these women will hook you up. I'm telling you.
Going into that, the Wiener Circle.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So for those of you who do not know what the Wiener Circle, it is a late night hot dog stand.
It's dinner and a show.
Dinner and a show. And these, to put it broadly, I guess, no pun intended with broads, they will tell you to fuck off just because,
They will
right.
cordially invite you to suck their dicks.
Right, exactly. Right.
These women are amazing.
And if you mess up, it's very intimidating. Most people can't
have your order ready.
Right.
You all have cell phones. You've
Right.
all got smartphones.
Right.
Look it up. Get your order ready. If you're hopefully with a Chicago native going, which you should,
Right.
have that order ready because these women do not fuck around.
They'll smoke your ass for sure.
Yes.
And again, they're usually large black women from the South or West Side.
The best.
But it's a great experience. You have to go if you go to Chicago. And it's a great hot dog. It's a Chicago-style hot dog.
Yes. Anything. I mean, whether it's you're getting Chicago-style hot dogs or you're getting fries, you're getting a pizza puff, you're getting onion rings. Onion rings at Wiener Circle are amazing.
Unbelievable.
But I do recommend going there for the hot dogs. Don't just go there for other stuff.
Right.
Don't be an asshole.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. And no ketchup.
No ketchup.
I don't even think they have ketchup.
You can do ketchup on any hot dog you want anywhere else. Mm-hmm. But this is another thing about, I think if you've never experienced Chicago and you want the real experience, trust us. We know our food better than anybody.
Yeah.
So when I say you get a Chicago-style hot dog, drag it through the garden, which means everything on it, no ketchup. We don't put ketchup on our dogs. Right. Just trust. Right. Just trust. It has like 17 ingredients. And they all work together. Yeah. You've got the onions, you've got the pickle relish, you've got the mustard, you've got the pickle spear, you've got the tomato slices, you've got the sport peppers, and you've got the celery salt. You don't need ketchup.
The celery salt, I think, I've learned that the celery salt, that might make the Chicago
It
dog.
Does. It's just a dash.
Unbelievable.
Just
right.
Two shakes. That's all you need.
Right.
And it's fantastic. But have that order ready because those women will light you up. And here's the thing. My friends that live there, that have born and raised, or people that have moved there are now Chicago citizens. Mm-hmm. They go there sometimes just to screw with those ladies, to be lit up. Part of the experience is, because these women are absolute artists with obscenities.
Oh, yeah.
I can't say it enough. It's just go in, have your order ready. Yeah. But just what do you recommend? Right. Well, I'll tell you what I fucking recommend, honey. I recommend you get your fucking order right. Excuse me, next. That's just... These women are the best.
One of my other favorite hot dogs is a Wrigley Field hot dog.
Okay.
I can smell. It's just the grilled onions and then everything on it.
Yes.
Great hot dog.
You can't go wrong with just mustard and grilled onions.
No.
In fact, that leads me into the other star of the show. Yeah. My nephew's over here off camera. One of his favorite items, Chicago food, is what is called the Maxwell Street Polish.
Course.
Which came from, there used to be a place called Maxwell Street that would have been east of UIC, south of, 9094. There was a spot.
Yeah,
you can still see it. Yeah. The only movie
it's right by the Cell.
Right.
The Cell is
No. I don't think it's that. Was it that far south? Well, here's the thing. Maxwell Street Polish are now citywide. But the original Maxwell Street, I believe, was west side near what is the UIC area. If I'm getting it wrong, please comment down below and please forgive me.
Yeah.
But the only movie only time I've ever seen it captured on film, 1980, directed by John Landis, Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Which,
Yes.
that, Blues Brothers and Michael Mann's Thief from 1981, starring the great James Caan. Those are the two most
Dennis
important.
Farina. Shout out Dennis Farina.
And Dennis Farina, Chicago native.
Dennis Farina.
Chicago's very own, if you will. Those are the two greatest Chicago films ever made. You have to watch both of them.
Yes.
But Maxwell Street got featured in Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
And it was actually, I believe, a man of, I think it was a Greek guy, might have been Latin, who basically took Polish sausage, started frying them up, then grilled the onions, and basically started slinging those with mustard. In this neighborhood of Chicago along Maxwell Street. It caught on, and now you go to any Chicago street food joint has a has Maxwell Street Polish. So it is a homemade Polish sausage made within the confines of the city of Chicago. Maybe not made by a Pole, but maybe. I mean, I literally know there's guys that are second generation Asian American that are making Polish sausage in their backyards. Right. I just love the cross culture, and it tastes as good as Nana made. Yeah. And so you have that. You've got that on a nice S. Rosen's bun. Yeah. S. Rosen's bun for the Maxwell Street Polish and the Chicago dog. Sure. Yes, they slather those beautiful grilled onions that have been grilling in the juices from the Polish sausage. Yeah. And then they take almost like a frosting knife, and they take that fucking mustard and just all over that thing, and it is absolute paradise in your mouth.
Quick little sidetrack story about Dennis Farina per Uncle Tom Dreesen. And Thief. So Thief is a Chicago movie.
It is. Michael Mann, also Chicago's very own Michael Mann, who we all know, who also directed Heat and many other great films. Right. He directed it in Chicago. Yes. With the great Dennis Farina, with James Caan. Yes.
So if you don't know what Thief is, go watch Thief. So when Michael Mann was casting for Thief, it is obviously there's police in it. Correct? Yes. So Michael Mann went to the chief of police of Chicago. I can't remember his name at the time, but he said, "Do you mind if I do a ride along with two of your cops?" Yep. Right? So Michael Mann said, "Yeah, go with Dennis and Vinny." I want to say their name was. So
I mean, holy Chicago. So Dennis and Vinny.
Dennis Farina was a cop.
Yes, he was. Yes,
an actor. Yes, if you did not know that. So went for the ride along, and they were. I mean, Chicago cops. They just shot the shit. You know, they were shooting the shit with each other. Say, "Hey, like we're going to here." Blah 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 blah. From then on, Michael Mann then put Dennis Farina, in the movie, and the kind of rest is history. Yeah. You know? And then he did, Midnight Run and all these great movies that he's done, but that was a little,
little Chicago trivia, little Chicago film trivia. Well, actually, what needs to be also, to sort of piggyback on that, is with regard to Thief, Michael Mann's Thief, 1981, Dennis Farina and everyone who plays a cop in Thief is a cop. Yeah. So the part of people, it's like, God, this feels so real. Like whether you grew up in the city or not, you're just watching. It's like these guys. Yeah. Well, these guys are really convincing because they are cops. Right. And that was again. I'm thankful for the work, all of the work that Michael Mann has done as an actor, as a screenwriter myself. He's one of my touchstone guys when I write. I would like to try to get him back to Chicago because he's so talented. And I feel like we have these two massive gravity wells of LA and New York. And and part of the reason we're doing this pod is we have to remind people, because Chicagoans, we know we're dope amongst ourselves. Part of the reason, we're so dope is we're constantly fortifying our own culture. So when people come in and check us out, they're like, holy shit, I didn't even know this existed. We got to get better, like LA and New York, about telling everyone else how dope we are. Right. But it would be cool to figure out a way to get Mr. Mann back in Chicago. So just side note there.
Just a few shout outs prior. I just got to shout out these few restaurants.
No, let's do it.
First would be Tufanos on the west side, I guess.
Tufanos is west side by UIC, University of Illinois Chicago, my alma mater. Right. Yeah, that is a great Italian sub.
Tufanos
and more.
Amazing. Lemon chicken there is unbelievable. Ooh. There is a restaurant that my uncle owns. For those of you who don't know what that
If you're
is,
from Chicago
right.
and you're any shade of Italian, you have a lot of uncles,
Right.
you've got a lot of aunts, you got a lot of nonas.
Right.
It's just how it is.
It was in Elmhurst, right, where I grew up for a majority of my life.
Where a lot of the gangsters from back in the day, they would do their shit in the city, and then they go to Addison,
Right.
Melrose Park,
Right.
Elmhurst,
Right.
because they could hide from the police out there. So.
The Ranieri families, great family friends, uncle. They just moved their deli called Full of Bologna downtown to Wicker Park.
That is such a great name.
And all their sandwiches are, they have the white lie.
You said they're downtown now?
They're downtown Wicker Park. Their sandwiches are named like the white lie.
Well, Wicker Park isn't
Con
quite
artist.
downtown, but it's closer than Elmhurst.
Downtown, it's closer than Elmhurst.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always get the con artist. That's like the name of the sub.
All right.
Amazing pizza, amazing lasagna. Great place. They also have another restaurant in Elmhurst called 100 South. They have a chicken parm there that is the best. It's just like crusted on the outside. It's about the size of this big because they like the chicken cutlets. They just,
pound it out.
Pound the cutlets, right? And then finally, I will say this is Tom and I's favorite spot is Gibson's Steakhouse on Rush.
Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
Steve Lombardo is a good friend, and I just the steak sliders there are amazing. And Gibson's. They have a cattle farm specifically for their beef.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, yeah.
They just got the gem, and I just...
And that's, going back to the chicken parm, you talk about the surface area of a chicken parm.
Oh, yeah.
Or like, whether it's a chicken parm or like, there's a great shout-outs to Laschitz Inn. Half my family is German. And so you grow up eating schnitzel and sauerbraten and all these things that don't look real good, but taste real good. And a half order of food from Laschitz is like, it's like a platter. My nephew, who is a rugby player at Cal Lutheran in LA, got a full order. And he had trouble. Yeah. He finished it. Yeah. But that's something else to know is in Chicago, if you're coming from either of the coasts, and you come to Chicago, you're going to pay half to a third of what you pay in LA or New York, and you're going to get half to 2/3 more food than you would in any of those places. So when you go to order at these places, be very careful when you order. It's like, well, always ask how much food is an order. Like, what is a la carte? What is the dinner? Because it's not going to be the only place you eat that day. I mean, if you get a full order, it might be. Yeah. And that's the other thing, too, is whether you're at Tufano's or you're at Laschitz or you're at Buona Beef or you're at one of my favorite, my other outside of Gibson's, a place that, to me, is on par in a different style. There's an Argentine steakhouse I have been going to since forever called Tango Sur. It is an Argentine steakhouse. It's right on Southport in Edgewater. And I go there for the lengua. On my mother's side, we were rocking some Latin. So that place to me is they take beef tongue and they slice it and then they marinate it.
Wow.
Because if you don't know anything about Argentina is Spaniards and wops. I'm sorry, Italians. And that's basic. So the food Dagos, exactly. And we can say it because we're all...
I actually got a book.
We're all some percentage of Dago,
right.
So we can say it. And so, yeah, Argentine steakhouses, it's this beautiful mix of Spanish food and Italian food in this sort of Argentine pocket. It's a lot of red meat and a lot of wine. So if you're a red meat person, as most Chicagoans are, you will love a place like Tango Sur as much as you'd love a place like Gibson's. Again, Gibson's traditional American sort of style. Tango Sur is much more Argentine, but they're both fantastic. Yeah. But yeah, be careful how much you order. Ask ahead of time. If you're not somebody who's used to Chicago portions, you may want to...
I do kind of realize half order, full order. They do.
Yeah, it's a different story in Chicago. Like I've been jumping back and forth between Chicago and LA for about 8 years now. Yeah. And I have found that my stomach has shrunk. So when I go back, I'm like, I really can only rock a half order of almost anything. Right. Granted, I do nothing but walk. When I'm back home, I get my CTA card or I load up my Ventra card and I do nothing but walk or take the train. rarely, like towards maybe the end of a week in Chicago, like last time I brought, some of my Cali fam back, we were walking 12 to 15 miles a day, well past midnight on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We get to Saturday, and we're like, you know what? We're downtown right now. We're in Ontario. I think we're just we're gonna ride share it back to Humboldt Park. That's what we're gonna do. I rented a house in Humboldt Park, and for us. And so, but that's the thing is, don't ride share, and for God's sake, please don't rent a car. No. Do not rent a car, because the city will get you with tickets because you're not going to read the signs, right. Or we're going to hide the signs, or the meter people are going to ignore the signs. Right. You have to pay it anyway. Right. It's the Chicago tradition.
You can take the L. For those of you
just take the L. The L is our elevated train.
Elevated train,
which starts elevated and then goes under, so it's a subway and elevated.
But don't take the Orange Line to 96th, I want to say. Right.
Or take the Orange Line to 96th if you want an adventure. Like, this is my thing too. If you can, and then this is my open offer, if anybody out there who's watching this has never been to Chicago and you want a native to show you, book a trip with me. We'll verbo a place, or we'll stay with my dad, as long as you're not a psycho, and we'll figure out a trip, because there's nothing Chicagoans love more than being ambassadors of our city to our city, whether we're in the city limits or we're on the coasts. Yeah. We really are very proud of what we have, and we want you guys to have a great experience. Right. And that goes for taking the train. Yes. It's part of it. I guess we'll lead into this now. Mm-hmm. One of the things that Chicago has not done as good a job about, we kick ass in food, drink, sports, architecture, museums, culture. We nail all of it, and I would put it up against any city in the world. Okay. And not that we're necessarily competing, but come and check us out. You'll enjoy it. Yeah. But the one area where it's hard for us is in terms of media coverage, because we do have some pretty heavy crime in parts of the west and south sides. The crime exists everywhere.
It's everywhere, right.
But it doesn't exist everywhere in Chicago. And what people have to understand is we are not all just, right. It's not like the Matrix all over the city of Chicago.
Dodging bullets.
It's you know what I mean? The real heavy crime and the terrible crime that does happen doesn't happen citywide. It happens in gang-controlled pockets of neighborhoods, mostly, but not confined to, far west and far south sides of the city, where I also have family and I also have friends. So I'm not disparaging these parts of the city because I go there. And not that I'm saying that you should go there, but you should explore the city. As dope as downtown is, as great as the Magnificent Mile is, as much as they have La Briola and Gibson's and all these amazing places, the Billy Goat Tavern. And you should check those spots out. Don't just stay downtown. Right. Find a local, stay with a local, make friends with a local, and get on the CTA and just hop off. Yeah. Get on the Green Line and take it to Oak Park and check out the Frank Lloyd Wright architectural tour. Get on the Pink Line and jump off in Westtown, Fulton Market. Yeah. Which is now one of my favorite spots in the city. It is popping. In Chicago, we don't wait for the weekend. We're out at the restaurants, at the bars, on the streets of West Side, Westtown, or other parts of the city on a Thursday night. Sometimes Wednesday. Sometimes we get it going real early. Yeah. And in terms of safety, this is something I really, really noticed this past November. When we went, I had a couple more nieces and nephew with me this time when we went. And like I said, we were walking throughout the city. It was a lot of West Side. We went south, we went north, but we went from West Loop to near West Side to far West Side that whole time. So you're getting very different cross sections of the city, okay? I realized we were walking past midnight every night we were there. And out there with my 20-something nieces and nephews, and we were out there walking, and I saw in every part of town, whether I was in the heart of Humboldt Park, I was on near West Side, I was in Fulton Market, there were young women out walking everywhere, all the time. Now you're told constantly by not just social media, but mainstream media, how dangerous Chicago is. And I'm not saying that there aren't dangers, but the depth and breadth of those dangers are highly, highly exaggerated. These are young women of every economic class, of every ethnicity and racial background, out with their friends or walking by themselves. The amount of young women I saw walking out by themselves without a care in the world, completely safe, just enjoying their lives, enjoying their friends, enjoying time out with friends. It happens. And that's one of the things I love so much about taking people around, is they get to see the real Chicago. We unfortunately we're subject to other people trying to tell our narrative, tell our story. Right. And there's an army of influencers, an army of new podcasts, like 77 Flavors of Chicago, the Chicago History Podcast, Number 6 with Cheese, showing the greatness of the city, and hopefully Big Shoulders Podcast, as you see here, really telling you what the real deal is. Because it's one thing, I've always said this, nobody knows more about the city of Chicago than somebody who's never been there, never visited there. It's very easy but depending on your political persuasion, to use Chicago as a punching bag, because we're a largely progressive liberal city. We're a blue city in a blue state. The problem is these people who are on the other side don't give themselves a chance to come and see the city. And I don't care what your political stripe is. I don't carry water for any political stripe. Whoever you are, give us a chance. If you want to be educated about the city and our culture, take us up on our offers. But explore the city for yourself. Don't let other people tell you what we're about. Right.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think that people obviously that go there, and I always say that, obviously June, July, August, September, I think Chicago is the best city in the entire world.
Oh my God.
I mean, whether it's the street festivals, the Italian Fest, I always go back every year. Go see a game at Wrigley, go to the beach, go to a concert, go to whatever. I mean,
the fall. I love to bring family back in the fall, because you got the Christkindl market, again, the German side of my family. Yeah. But the Italian Christmas is amazing. Italian street fests are amazing. Yeah. This is the thing. Another thing about the city of Chicago, whether you are German, Italian, Irish, Mexican, Nigerian, Ethiopian, if you have great food and you like to party, welcome home. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just, we need no excuse in terms of, let's mix it up. We are constantly adding patches to this quilt tapestry we call Chicago. Yeah. And it's whether you're Czech or Polish or Jewish or Arab or whatever it is. Right. It's like, bring your food, bring your fun attitude, and let's party.
Right. And I think people do judge it not based on what, if it's not my accent you make fun of, it's not the pizza, you say, oh well, you must be,
Yeah, I mean, people literally have backed away from me when I tell them I'm from. That's like, I'm not strapped right now. Right. Yeah. Right. But and it's just like,
but it's totally not true. I mean, I grew up in Westchester, Elmhurst. There's nothing there. And you also, I think there's a vibe about you. Sure. That if you're causing problems, you're not in the right area at the right time, just be cool.
Respect goes a long way. Of course. Like, this is something, whether it's back home in Chicago, where I grew up, neighborhoods I've moved to in Chicago, whether it was the time I spent living in New York, whether it's been the time I've been in LA, it would never occur to me to roll up into somebody else's neighborhood, whether it's home in Chicago, or to somebody's neighborhood in LA or New York, and just start shit talking people. I don't know if it's just common sense that's gone away, but it's a bad idea. Yeah. It's just, you're a guest, okay? Whether it's the neighborhood that is next door to you that you just maybe didn't spend time in, or it's a city that you're currently living in. There's good people everywhere, but I don't care who you are. Nobody likes to be talked down to. Nobody likes to be disrespected. And if you don't know about a place, if all you know is what you've heard, well, fuck what you've heard, because chances are you don't know the whole story. Right. So it's real important to respect people. Like, I was told horror stories when I came to LA. Right. Oh, Boyle Heights, look out. Right. Oh, Huntington Park, look out. Oh, it's like South Central. These are some of my favorite places, some of the best friends I've ever made in those spots. Yeah. And the same goes with Chicago. Like, people say, oh, if you're on your way to Oak Park,
Yeah.
Don't stop in Austin.
Right.
Why?
Right.
There's great food and great people in Austin.
Yeah, Uncle Remus, the original one, is in Austin.
I mean, it's just, it's, don't go too far south. Don't get off at 96. Well, depending on what time of day it is,
right.
You can get off at 96.
Right.
It's like, do you like soul food?
Right.
Do you like culture? Do you like African American Caribbean food?
Right.
Dude, you need to get on the red line, the green line, the orange line,
go down.
and go south, man, in Chicago, because there's some great stuff. Lem's Barbecue.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Come on, there's there's a place, Mickey's Grill on the south side.
Yeah.
is amazing. And I just, the fact that, so maybe you're a white boy from the, let's say for Joe's intents and purpose, far west side of Chicago.
Right. Yeah.
You need to take your skinny white ass to Mickey's Grill on the south side. You need to go to Lem's.
Yeah.
You need to go to Hyde Park. You need to check out some of these soul food places. Right. And I would say the same. Are you a south side kid or guy? Go to the north side and go to the Fish Keg that is literally the border of Chicago and Evanston. Some of the best fried fish. Right. It's a shout out to the Fish Keg. It's one of my favorite places. You go and you get yourself a pound of fried shrimp and a half pound of vinegar and oil coleslaw. You open up the vinegar and oil coleslaw and you throw it on the shrimp and then you squeeze a lemon on that shit. Yeah. That's dinner.
I used to work at a place. It was a studio. I used to do my auditions there or whatever. It was on Lake and Pulaski in West Garfield Park. And for those of you who do not know...
Garfield Park, yes. Shout out.
That's the Wild Wild West out there.
It is, the Wild West side.
Wild West.
It's so fun.
But if I didn't go to Uncle Remus, if I didn't go to J&J's, if I didn't go
JJ Fish.
Right, right. If I didn't go there was a place, it was soul food. It starts with an M, McCat. I gotta look it up.
There's so many great soul food places, and the fact that I'm blanking on them right now, I want to put a gun in my mouth.
Anyways, you go in there and you feel like home. It's what's up, sugar? Like,
first of all,
right?
I over tip at any restaurant where a lovely African American woman calls me honey or sugar. I'm just like, it brings me back to the black childhood I never had, and I'm just like peeling off 20s. For these amazing women and their amazing food. I can't get enough.
Yeah. But overall, Chicago, obviously we're going to say it's the best city in the entire world. We're biased. We're from there.
Right. But objectively speaking, best skyline in the world.
Oh.
And if you really...
No doubt.
I'm sorry.
No doubt.
Like Chicago, we space our shit out because we have alleys. New York doesn't space stuff out. Love New York. Love you guys. Live there. Spent time. Got family. Love you. But Chicago, we space ourselves out right. When we put in a new skyscraper, we make sure it fits in with that, so nothing's too close. Right. You got the Sears Tower over here. You got the Hancock top of the cock over here. Right. You got Prudential Tower 2 here. You got the Trump Tower here. We got to spread that shit out so it's aesthetically pleasing.
And while we're at it, let's put a river right in between.
And then we'll put a river right down the middle that we color bright green, as green as the pickle relish on our Chicago-style hot dogs for St. Patty's Day, which... I will put St. Patty's in Chicago.
I'm actually going back this year. I don't
know. And I know Boston and New York turns it up, but I don't think the entire city comes out. Right. You don't even have to be Irish to enjoy St. Patty's in Chicago.
There's a picture. Hold on. My uncle, Rob, he owns a bar up in the lakes on Fox Lake called Blarney Island. He is my actual uncle, for those of you asking.
Blarney, Irish?
Blarney Island. There's actually a great story about that I don't know if a lot of people know. So, back in the day, they used to get booze from Canada, and they would take it down for the river, and they'd go... Booze, right.
Not liquor,
booze, right. So they'd bring it down, they'd go through the Channel Lakes, and they bring it down, I think, all the way to the Chicago River. I think it would get sourced out through Cicero, right?
Well, knowing my history of Cicero, those guys were taking their cut, so probably.
Right. And then the Irish and the Italians, they had this war because it was such a big, it was a spot on Grass Lake, Pistaki, that, all these lakes, they would bring booze down. And there was a war between the Irish and the Italians. So one day they actually played a poker game, and there was the Italian and Irish, Jack O'Connor, and at Blarney Island there's a bar called Jack's Bar, right? And they were playing, and they said, let's play for all the marbles. Let's play for this spot of land. Huh? Let's play for this spot of land. Right. And in the end, Jack won the Irishman, right? Okay. And the story goes is that the Italian gangster, he shot himself right there, right? And shot himself right there just because it was such a big trade route.
Yeah.
And they named it Blarney Island because in Gaelic, Blarney means bluff. And he was bluffing on his hand in the poker game.
Yes.
So that is why they call it...
Kiss the Blarney Stone, those of you that are Irish, you know about the Blarney Stone.
So that's how the story goes. But anyways, back to my story. He always used to dye the river green, and I have a picture of the guy.
Great.
Yeah, there's an orange...
And that's, if you're not following Chicago on Instagram, you owe it to yourself because it's great shots of the city, but especially as we get closer to St. Patty's Day.
So it was the Plumbers Union that used to do it, right? And this is one of the plumbers. It's an orange dye, and that's me as a kid. He's putting it in my mouth and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
None of you can see this.
I don't know if you can or not, but that's myself and him putting
back when he was a chubby little kid.
I know.
Little chubby little Goomba.
But I am going back for the Chicago St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Yeah.
I challenge all of you to go because
absolutely. And here's the thing: you don't. Nothing like it. I'm really not a drinker. I can't. I come from a family of Herculean alcoholics
from Chicago. Really?
Imagine that. and we're not Irish, but we are. And I'm not a huge drinker, but I love St. Patty's. It's so fun. The frivolity, the fraternity. It's just, you can be in the heart of downtown by the river where it's super green.
Right.
You could be north, west, south, and just keep walking, and it's just, obviously don't have any liquor on you, but it's just one big citywide party. Whether you drink or not, it's a good time.
Yeah.
Everybody just sort of comes out and has fun, and it's again, very fraternal. We do the same thing for Cinco de Mayo. We do it obviously with the Italian Saints holidays. The Polish in the Northwest Side do their thing. It's just good stuff.
Yeah.
But
overall, though, Chicago is great city between the food, of course. That
we covered so much of the food,
the people, the places, just the skyline.
And there's something else I think people need to know in terms of the intellectual heft of Chicago. We are the home of the Chicago School of Economics. We are the home of the University of Chicago. Our city, in terms of architecture, is a cross-section of literally the greatest architects of the 19th, 20th, and 21st century architects. Jeannie Gang, who recently put up the St. Regis and some two other buildings in Chicago. She is, I believe, one of the most accomplished female architects in the world. She has 2 skyscrapers in downtown Chicago now that went up within the last, 6 to 7 years. Yeah. Just amazing.
The churches, too.
The churches are incredible.
There's one right in front of Tefano's. We always used to go to the Christmas show there. Our Lady of Pompeii.
Our Lady of Pompeii, Holy Name Cathedral, Fourth Presbyterian right downtown. Just incredible church history, architectural history. Whether you're Christian or not, you owe it to yourself to go check these places. There's... you can catch a Latin Mass still. You can catch a Polish Mass. You can catch a Spanish Mass. You can catch all of these things. It's mass. Yeah. So Chicago-style hot dogs, Chicago tavern-style pizza. Have your deep dish if you want, but just know that the real ones know tavern-style pizza, Italian beef, the pizza puff, and what else? Maxwell Street Polish. Right. There's more. We'll cover more in future episodes, but those I feel like are the real big ones.
Yeah.
Again, if you want to stay downtown, that's cool, but try to hook up with a local that you can spend your time with and will take you around. You want to go all the way to Vito and Nick's. That's 94th Street on the south side. Yeah. Don't hesitate to go all the way to Humboldt Park and check out get a jibarito. Jibarito is a Puerto Rican version of the Italian beef sandwich. Jibarito is a Puerto Rican sandwich made by Puerto Ricans in Chicago. It's not from Puerto Rico. It's made with slices of fried plantains instead of bread, and then it's either beef or pork fried up on those sandwiches with lettuce, tomato, mayo, and garlic. Come on. Who doesn't want that? So get out and enjoy those things. Try these things. Don't stay downtown the whole time. Don't get suckered into Navy Pier's great, but there's a lot greater spots. Go to Navy Pier, enjoy that, but don't get sucked into just staying downtown. Yeah. There's so much good stuff. But man, this has been fun, Joe.
Yeah.
So more to come If there's something we've missed, something you want us to cover in future episodes, whether it be food, culture, architecture, neighborhoods, we want to get into neighborhoods as well, because that's the heart of Chicago. We are a city of neighborhoods. There's 77 community areas, but that's not the same as neighborhoods. There's probably 200 neighborhoods within those 77 community areas. Oh, yeah. So if you want us to shout out something, if there's something that you think deserves to be covered, food-wise, culture-wise, everything, comment below, let us know, and please like, subscribe, share, and more to come, and let us know what you want to see, guys.
And follow us on Instagram, too.
Oh, follow on Instagram. By the time this drops, we'll have an Instagram as well. And go Cubs, go Sox, go Bulls, go Bears, go... Well, I mean, you know, I'm from a family of Cubs fans. Go Sox, but go Cubs. Yeah. I was so excited. Yeah. We'll talk about sports culture.
We'll talk
because
about
sports culture will do it. But until next time, guys, take care of those big shoulders. All right.